Hi and welcome to Spooky Mystery. Tonight we will be hearing the real-life spine-chilling paranormal encounter of a handful of our viewers. All our stories have been anonymous. We will also look into urban legends, haunted hospitals, haunted schools, the supernatural, horror crime, and so much more. Scary Spooky Mystery. Here we look into all the answers and ask all the questions. We will view videos, react, and comment. We will bring entertainment and bring real spooky stuff to you to enjoy. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Stay spooky.
It was Halloween, and a young man named Robert was driving home from work. Every house he passed was decorated with Halloween props like carved pumpkins, plastic skeletons, black paper bats, and witches on broomsticks. It reminded him of all the fun he had when he was a child, going from house to house trick-or-treating. Distracted by all of the Halloween decorations, he missed his turn off and had to take the long way back to his house. The light was beginning to grow dim and the road full of twists and turns. As he came around a sharp corner, his car skidded on some loose gravel. He lost control of his car, slid off the road, and plowed into a ditch. For a few moments, Robert was dazed and just sat in his car, trying to regain his senses. After making sure he wasn't hurt, he got out and surveyed the damage. Apart from a few scratches, the car looked fine. The problem was the car was stuck in the ditch and the rear wheels were raised a few inches from the ground. He would have to call a tow truck. Robert checked his pockets and discovered, to his dismay, that he had left his mobile phone at work. He was in the middle of nowhere and he had to find a phone. He waited for a few minutes, but when no cars passed by, he decided to start walking. About a mile down the road, he finally spotted a house in the distance. When he came to the gates, there was an old, rusted truck sitting in the driveway. The door of the truck was wide open, swinging in the breeze. There was nobody inside, so he continued on up to the house. It was a dilapidated old building, and some of the shutters were hanging off the windows. There was an eerie silence about the house. The only thing he could hear was the beating of his own heart and the low whistle of the cold October wind. Every now and then, a weather vane on the roof creaked as it swung around. Robert knocked on the front door a few times, but there was no answer. He was about to give up and try to find another house, when he noticed something unusual. On the other side of the house, there were some Halloween props and decorations. One of them was a rocking chair with a ragged scarecrow sitting on it. The scarecrow was wearing a skeleton mask, and as he got closer, he noticed a putrid smell. Stopping in his tracks, he stared at the scarecrow. Something didn't look right. Between the clumps of straw, he thought he could see something that looked like human skin. Filled with a strange mixture of fear and curiosity, he slowly reached out and pulled at the straw. As it fell apart, he was horrified to discover that, beneath the straw, there was a dead body. The skin was purple and it was decomposing. Robert was still trying to recover from the shock when he heard footsteps coming from the back of the house. An old man emerged from behind the house and soon spotted Robert. He started in surprise. "Who are you? What are you doing here?" he cried. Robert was trembling. There's a dead body," he croaked. The old man rushed over and examined the scarecrow. Pulling at the straw, he revealed the disgusting face of an old woman. "Millie!" shouted the old man, his voice shaking. "Millie! What happened?" He turned to Robert, his eyes filling with tears. "Help me carry her into the house," he cried. Robert didn't know what to do. The man lifted her up by the shoulders, and Robert picked up her feet. Together, they carried her up the front steps and into the house. They brought her into an empty room and laid her body down on the cold wooden floor. "Stay here, while I go and call the police," the man shouted. Before Robert had a chance to reply, the old man hurrying down the corridor. Robert stood there, still shaking, staring down at the dead woman laying at his feet. After a while, he looked around and realized that there was no furniture. The house seemed to be completely bare, and it was covered in cobwebs. There weren't even any light bulbs in the fixtures. He waited and waited, but the old man never returned. After 20 minutes had passed, he decided to try and to find the old man. As soon as he walked out into the corridor, he saw the phone. It was laying on the floor at the end of the corridor, and the line had been ripped out of the wall. With a growing sense of unease, he cautiously explored the rest of the house. There was no sign of the old man. Robert began to panic and ran out the back door. He didn't know where he was going, he just kept running. After about half an hour, he came to a small general store that lay at the side of the road. Bursting into the shop, sweat pouring down his brow, he begged the shocked young woman behind the counter to call the police. She asked him what was wrong, but he was so out of breath that he couldn't answer. Exhausted from all the running, he sat down on the floor and tried to calm himself. When the police arrived, Robert told them what happened. He got into the back of the petrol car and directed them back to the old dilapidated house. The police officer went into the house and spent 20 minutes searching the house. They didn't find anything. They didn't find a dead body and no old man. The house has been vacant for years. The truck in the driveway had been abandoned almost a decade ago. Robert kept insisting that he had seen the dead body with his own eyes. He gave a description of the old man to the police. It was clear they didn't believe him. A few days later, Robert went to the police station and asked if they had come up with any information about the old man. The police officer gave him a strange look and said, "Actually, we did. We checked the property records to see who owned the house. Then we did a little asking around." "That's great," said Robert. "And what did you find?" "Well, there was an old man who used to live in that house. Seemed like he fit your description. His had a wife too. She disappeared and nobody heard from her again. Some people suspected he murdered her and buried her in the yard, but there was no real evidence. Just a lot of loose talk and rumors spread by the locals. Nothing concrete until now." "Have you arrested him?" asked Robert. "We'd like to," said the policeman, "but there's just one problem." "What's that?" asked Robert. The policeman gave a wary smile and said, "He died in 1963, on October 31st on Halloween night."